Hi, you've got Dan here with Five Wide Football. Today I've got a special podcast for everybody. We've got Andrew on with the Golden Advantage podcast. It's a great listen. All these information will be in the details below. We're going to be talking about fantasy football, some beginner rookie mistakes to avoid, and how we both got started. Once again, all of his information will be in the details below. And if you want to listen to this in audio format only, it will be up on his channel. Thank you.
All right, guys, what's going on? I got Dan here with me, and just here to talk some fantasy podcasts and really see what's going on in the fantasy world. Dan?
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm with Five Wide Football. I'm very happy to have been invited on the podcast. I just recently wrote an article on how to set up a league, and because of that, obviously, we decided, Andrew reached out to me, and we decided to set it up. So I'm going to post this on YouTube, and hopefully Andrew can post in the description as well. I'll put the link to his podcast along with the link to my YouTube channel and my website, which is Five Wide Football for both. And we talk primarily fantasy football, occasionally Giants, because I'm a big Giants fan. And currently we're just going over some stuff on how to get started into fantasy football for beginners, which is really great because that's what Andrew primarily talks about on his podcast.
Yeah, man. So speaking of Giants, I know you're from New York. Why not the Jets?
So I'm actually from an area that's pretty well split in thirds between Giants, Jets, and Bills, because I'm about right in the middle of the state. So you halfway between Buffalo and New York City. My mom's family is all big Giants fans, and my dad was a Viking fan, but he also watches a lot of Giants as well. And so kind of family was part of it. And then the other big part was the Jets were terrible. And they were just real bad when I was growing up. And then the third thing is CBS does the AFC games, and they would alternate between the Jets and the Bills because being right in the middle.
Oh, okay.
The Giants were always on Fox.
Yeah, because they're NFC.
So I could watch the games every week. Like some of my friends who are Jets or Bills fans would be upset because they'd be like, oh, they decided to do Jets versus Patriots this week. I couldn't watch the Bills play whoever. And I'm like, well, they probably lost anyways. So
Right. Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't know that they actually split it between those two teams, the Jets and the Bills. I mean, it makes sense, especially, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But
not like
I never thought about it in that market,
Yeah. Now you get the Sunday ticket or NFL Red Zone, and you're either watching everybody score if you're a big fantasy fan, or you're watching any game you want. But back then, no, you could only watch it on CBS and Fox. So
yeah, I'm really wondering what they're going to do with this whole virus thing. Like, you got the you can't have fans in the stands.
Yeah, it's
as of right now. So I know they said they're going to like block certain areas off, but because DirecTV owns the rights to most stuff, if you don't have DirecTV, how are you going to watch your games?
And the other thing I was wondering is like, so they're going to block off areas to put other advertisers.
Yeah.
They obviously can't, like, if it's going to be DirecTV, like, obviously like Comcast, Spectrum, like
right, it's gonna have to be in that
Dish,
like contracts,
they can't put any advertising for their stuff on there, right? Wouldn't that be like direct competitor advertising on you?
Yeah, it's me like Budweiser.
And a lot of Peyton Manning's gonna be out there saying he's gonna drink a Bud after the game. But off that question, what's your favorite team?
Definitely 49ers all day, every day. Same thing kind of with you. So, I mean, I was born in 85, so I kind of missed like the Montana years for like remembering football with him on the Niners, but they were always on TV.
Mm-hmm.
They were that team like them, the Cowboys, they were just always on. And
so you probably the Steve Young, Jeff Garcia years.
Yeah, not so much the Elvis Gerbach, that kind of hurt a little. But I followed them, and then I followed the Chiefs when Montana went there. So that I could, watch them as much as I could. But I always was just kind of a 49ers homer, and I stayed with them for a long time. Actually, I came really close to like dropping them this past like couple years, right when they're in that really bad rough spot, like just cycling through coaches, and I didn't think like the GM
right
knew
after,
anything. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
well, they got rid of the GM, so he didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right after Harbaugh.
Right, and then they went to like Tom Sula and Chip Kelly, and I was like, what? I'm like, you guys don't know what you're doing, man. So yeah,
Then-
so I mean, I came so close to being like, all right, I'm a free agent. Who wants me? I'll go to any team.
Well, then
You
you had to
follow-
like this season.
Yeah, oh man, dude, I was so happy. Just like I feel like the Niners, like when they have that good defense, I mean, a lot of teams when they have good, but when they have that good defense, they just seem to always roll. You know, they didn't have the most explosive offenses. They had innovative offenses in the 80s and early 90s. But that defense was just always like that core. Because then I felt like they can not be more reckless, but take more chances, I guess, and try different schemes out on offense.
Yeah. No, it's definitely. I mean, the Giants essentially they've always been more of a defensive team, and it opens up the ability to take risks.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, a lot. You get that ability to take risks, which is always great.
Yeah. So how long you been playing fantasy?
So I've been in fantasy since 2000. I tried a little bit in high school, but consistently since 2007.
Okay.
So I've been in fantasy, and my Yahoo thing says I've done what is that? 39 teams in that stretch.
Nice. That's a good base though, you know?
Yeah, I'm in. There's 2 leagues that I have been in every year since 2007. There's another league I was in consistently for a while, and then it got a little too pricey, especially because my wife just had a daughter, and the buy-in got up to $300.
Yeah.
So I got out of that league, but I've been pretty consistently in a lot of leagues. How long have you been doing that?
Actually, pretty much around the same time, like 2006, 2007. And like actually, like, it's just so crazy. Like, it's just so different. When you first started out, like when you did your high school one, was it like through the mail or were you able to do it online?
So that one you were able. So I graduated high school in 2007.
Okay.
So you were able to do it online. I think the year I tried was 2005, but you didn't have apps on your phone, and I didn't have a laptop.
Yeah. What's an iOS?
My family had one desktop at our house, and part of the reason why I ended up getting out of it is because like I'd be sitting there Sunday morning watching ESPN, be like, oh, so excited for the game, and then they'd be like, so and so, isn't going to play because he's got a concussion. I'd be like, shit. I'd run upstairs and my sister would be on the computer. I'd be like, just give me 10 minutes. She'd be like, no. I'd be like, damn it. Then I'd come down and I'd turn and the kickoff would have happened. I'd be like, shit, my starting quarterback's out with a concussion. Why did I draft Chad Penny again?
He's on the Jets. Why'd I do it?
I don't know if it was literally Chad Penny, but he's just a guy that popped in my head that always seemed to be like game time decision. And so like I got out of it, and then college came, and I had a laptop and we started doing it, and it was a little bit. And at that point I was only doing one league.
In the beginning, that's key in the beginning.
Yeah. And then we got apps on phones, and I started getting in multiple leagues because it was like, all right. And I get like notifications from like the sleeper app, like so and so's out. I'm just like, okay, he's out. I'll move this guy in, go on with my day. And there's not like, it's just so much easier now to do.
It's so crazy to think too, like that scenario there, like all of a sudden it's 1998. There's like there's internet, but it's dial up. The information's not flowing anywhere near what it is today. And all of a sudden it's 12:50 and you find out, oh yeah, Kerry Collins isn't playing today. What? How do you like? How quick? Like, do you got to make a phone call to the commissioner? Hey, make this guy go in instead. Like, I've always kind of like wondered that. Oh,
Yeah, no, I 100% hear what you're saying there. I no idea what they used to do back then.
because I follow like Matt Barry,
Yeah,
and he's been doing it forever. So he was doing it when they were like mailing it in and like mailing like letters for draft picks, and which is kind of cool because it's kind of like a dynasty, like that you can like
yeah,
take your time and draft. Oh, you have 1 day to draft a pick or whatever, you have 2 day limit to figure out who you want to pick. Or so I do like that, but at the same time, you don't get to pick instantaneously.
yeah.
So I don't know that you just picked whoever.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of
Be a
annoying.
little bit of anxiety there, I feel like.
Definitely. So what got you into football? I know you kind of, or fantasy football. I know you kind of talked about it on your article a little, but
Yeah. So like I played sports in high school. I played football, I played some basketball, ran track, and then like I got into college and I just decided I had the opportunity to run track, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to practice all the time. Like I was just done with it. And then it was funny because like I thought I was done with it. And like a few months in, I was like, I am not done with this. Like, so I started going to the gym a decent amount, and like, so fantasy football was something to like be competitive in still. And then when I kind of like moved back home from college, and a lot of my friends either went to their hometowns or other places, it was just kind of a really good way to like keep in touch. So a lot of them now have wives and kids, and we might go 6, 7 months without talking to each other, and then the whole fantasy season, I'm talking to them 2, 3 times a week, and it's great.
yeah, then you get 4 or 5 months of just talking and hanging out again.
What got you into it?
For me, sports have just always kind of been there.
Hmm.
Just really a big part of my life. I did like a little high school, like soccer, basketball, but like football, I just always watched football, always enjoyed it. And then when I got back from overseas in like 2006, 2007, I just kind of really missed football. And I heard a lot of just things about fantasy. I had no idea what it was, though. I mean, I had a general idea, but
Yeah.
never played it. And so I was like, you know what? I just want more football in my life.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this was a way to do it. And I enjoyed it. It was a challenge,
Yeah.
which was really nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your service.
Oh, no,
Where did
appreciate it.
where did you serve? Like, where were you overseas stationed?
So I've been in Afghanistan for a while. I was also on a mobile security team, and we would take civilian ships from Greece, and we would be their security for military cargo that would go to Kuwait.
Okay.
And so we'd actually have to, if there was any attacks, like we would just push them back and kind of deal with it.
Yeah.
So it was fun, man.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my time in the military. But yeah, it was like you get all this. I mean, sometimes you're going months without
Mhm.
any type of information,
Yeah.
and you're just
Yeah.
like, I need something else. So I was
Yeah.
just like so happy, like for fantasy.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And then what made you decide to like take it to the next level with the podcast?
So for me, it was like I was saying before, like sports has always kind of been there. But then
Mhm.
like even like my wife and my family is like, yo, just do a podcast. Like you talk about sports all the time. You're knowledgeable relatively. I mean, right? Um, I think I'm an okay speaker. I can articulate my points for the most part. Um, and then it really, not only was a pod nice to get my voice out there, but going back to I love football, but I didn't know anything about fantasy.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, I think my fifth pick in my first draft was like the Bears. Because I didn't
Good
know,
defense, right? Yeah.
right? I mean, you got to get defense in there at some point. But like, I had no idea how the fantasy world worked, and I got annihilated in those comments. I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing, man. It's my first time,
Yeah.
And it was just, I loved it. They're bashing
Yeah.
me. I'm going back at them. And then, so like, honestly, my thing was like, okay, if I know a decent amount about football, but I don't know anything about fantasy, there's probably other people like that too.
Oh, for sure.
So let me kind of just talk about the basics and try and
Yeah.
get more people involved in it, really.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
what about
That's
you?
what. So I got into I played fantasy for a long time, and then like I kind of for years always loved talking sports. Uh, Me and my one good buddy, we used to get drunk and just argue about sports for hours. And people used to tell us like, dude, you guys should do a podcast. So we talked about it for a while, and then like I actually do marketing, online marketing.
Right.
So I deal with some podcasts, some YouTube, and a lot of website design. So I just finally was like, you know what? Let's do it. So the pandemic hit, and we decided to pull the trigger. He hasn't been on much. I kind of wished he would do a little bit more, but I've been really getting into it. And before anyone kills me in the comment section, the website part, I'm all the analytics and reporting. So if you go on our website, you'll see I'm not the design guy. So I like numbers. So then I kind of start getting into it. And my wife is kind of what you're saying. She followed football a little bit in high school and stuff and like watched sports. And then like since she's been with me, she's been watching football on Sundays, but she didn't understand fantasy at all. So
Right,
that's why I
right.
decided to write the article because
Yeah, I
she's
think
like
that's how
said,
me and you first connected
yeah,
because I saw your tweet about it.
yeah. And she said like, I would love if somebody would just kind of like tell me how to start. Like, where do I? Because she's like, I like. She's an Eagles fan. I don't know how I'm a Giants fan is married to an Eagles fan. It's very tough. But she's like I know Eagles players and I understand how football's played, but like I don't know guys on other teams. I don't know like. She's like Carson Wentz is our best player. So do I just always draft a quarterback? I'm like,
Yes.
probably not. Your team's all
If when she's
quarterbacks. You're
playing you,
probably
you
gonna
always take a
lose.
quarterback.
You want to draft a quarterback, but I wouldn't only take quarterbacks. So, so I just kind of wanted to like do that article for her, and off that I make some rookie mistakes too. So I wanted to like get some other people's like what's rookie mistakes they make, and what like for you like what's a big rookie mistake you find yourself making or you've seen other people make.
Um, yeah, so like I mean, I said I've been playing for a while, and I think I was talking about earlier how just trying to find it. When you first start, like it's great that we have like all these analysts out there and they're getting paid good money. So you can pretty much kind of go off what they say. But
Mhm.
if you just go chalk, like always taking like their top ranked person, to me, that first year, it just takes a lot out of it. Like it's not as fun. Like the whole point is to like really get to know the players and the schemes and the coaches. And it's like that deep dive that you miss if you just go chalk. What
Yeah.
about you?
So the rookie mistake I've made, and I always tell people, is don't draft two quarterbacks with the same buy. I've done that a lot. And based off like what you're saying with like the chalk, I think another rookie mistake is like getting overwhelmed, like looking at too many rankings, because there's a lot of analysts out there.
There
And
is.
one of the best things I ever did was last season, I decided like I'm going to look at one or two analysts and I'm going to do some research on my own, and that's it. And off of that, I ended up drafting Lamar Jackson like 4 rounds ahead of where he was going. And it was a great pick because like
Yeah, that's
I
huge.
read an analyst that was high on him. I saw his ADP. I watched some videos on him, some of his highlights, listened to what Harbaugh was saying about how much he was picking up and how much he was improving. And then like a couple quarterbacks went off the board, and I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get Lamar Jackson instead of going chalk and taking a receiver like I should right now. And I finished in second in that league, and then lost in the first round of the playoffs or second round because I had a bye. I don't really want to talk about it, but so it's just and there's a perfect point. If I'd went chalk, I probably would have picked up, you know, uh, middle round receiver who would have been like, okay, I might have gone
Got you
with
10 points a game, maybe.
honestly, the guy I probably was leaning towards was Dante Pettis, who had a horrible season. So it was a
I
very
was so
good
high on
decision.
him too.
I was too. I was very high. And then Dabo Sweeney Dabo Sweeney, that's the Clemson coach. Dabo Samuel, he came in and just took over, and Dante Pettis disappeared.
Yeah, and he I really like Dante. I think he's a very talented receiver, but he hasn't been consistent, and that's what's just killing him this year or last year,
Yeah. We'll see
He's
if
had
he
a
can
couple
take the
drops.
step this year.
Yeah, because he's a Niner, so I'm focused on
Yep.
him. Who you got your eye on this year? Any kind of late rounders or you're looking at?
Yeah. So obviously being a Giants fan, I got a list of sleepers I'm really looking on, and I don't know if I like the term sleeper. Some of these guys are climbing up the draft board, but I think Slayton with the Giants, he's been working a lot with Daniel Jones, and they don't have Tate's getting older, and Shepard has concussion issues. So I
Yep.
think he becomes the clear-cut number one.
And he had a
Um,
pretty good year last year.
for a rookie, he had 800 yards and stuff.
Yeah.
People just forget because there was some really good rookie receivers like
Yeah.
Dabo Samuel. There was Hollywood Brown, DK Metcalf. So he kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like most other seasons, he'd have been maybe the top rookie or number two. He put up similar stats to what Pettis put up in his rookie season, and everyone loved Pettis. It's just
Yeah,
because it was such a deep rookie class last year that he's kind of getting forgotten about. Another guy, 49er, and I did not know you were a 49er fan when I picked this. With the question on Samuel, I think Jalen Hurd could be a really, real good player.
there's just so much expectations for him. He's got so much talent,
Yeah,
and he's coming back from that. I think he had a back injury.
yeah, but he can do so much if they know how to use receivers
They do.
as a
That's why
running
they
back.
draft these guys like
Yeah.
Ayuk and Debo.
Yeah.
It's like they just know how to utilize their players, and I think it's because Shanahan was a wide receiver in college.
And he comes from a good coaching tree. His father's a great
one of the
coach.
best.
But Hurd for a while was the starting running back over Kamara in college. And then he got
I didn't know
injured
they were on the same. No.
yeah, in Tennessee. He got injured and then Kamara stole the starting job because he was just absolutely insane. And then Hurd switched to receiver and he's just good. The other guy is a real deep guy, real deep. And I only like him because I don't trust Evan Ingram. That's Caden Smith.
Okay.
And we don't need to go anymore. He's the backup tight end for the Giants, and I don't think Ingram finishes the season. So
would he be like a handcuff for you?
Yeah, he'd be a handcuff.
Yeah.
He's somebody you could get in the last 2 or 3 rounds of a draft. Don't take him before that, but I think he'll be serviceable for the second half of the season when Ingram's out.
Okay.
I like Janu Smith with the Titans, and I like Anthony Miller with the Bears.
Okay. No, that's good. And I like for me, my last probably 3 rounds
Mhm.
is, I'm going to take a defense, and then eventually I'll just start streaming defenses, whenever, and I'll take a kicker. But then right around there, I'll be like, okay, who do I think has some type of value that's just a backup or gets some kind of hype that, okay, yeah, let me get him,
Yeah. And sometimes I've occasionally not even drafted a defense if I don't like any of the remaining defenses, because I'm like, all right, I'm going to pick up 2 or 3 backup tight ends and just
see who
which one
who rises.
sticks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'll cut the other 2 and I'll pick up a defense. But so I've done that.
Tight ends are, for me, they're the hardest to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't take a tight end until the 10th or later because I just don't know.
There's
Unless
couple.
it's like Kelsey.
Yeah.
But or Ertz. But other than that, I'm just I don't know.
Kittle's.
I love Kittle, but because he's their number 1 wide receiver. He's their wide receiver 1, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they could go a game and Jimmy's only gonna throw it 10 times.
especially the playoffs.
Right. You know what I mean? So like that's why I don't like Kittle's probably my favorite player in the league. I love the intensity but fantasy wise to me, I think he goes in like the second or third round. His like ADP is there. And I don't see it because you don't know if he's going to get that consistency. You know, he can put up the numbers. The skill set's there. You know, they call him the Yak King, yards after catch. But you just don't know, is he going to get 10 balls a game? We don't know. He could get 2. Yeah. Granted, those 2 could go for 2 touchdowns and 80 yards.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
You know, like that's why I don't like taking a tight end super early, unless like Kelsey, who you know is like Mahomes' dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that to just kind of talk about how I evaluate a little bit.
Yeah.
That's one of the big things in how I evaluate is the team. So like a lot of people are like, all right, well, who's the best talent? Who's like Kittle is probably the most talented tight end in the NFL. But
I think
Kelsey is on Andy Reid's offense with Patrick Mahomes. So like a lot of times, like you were asking if I used Spark. I think that's a SPARQ and yeah. And I don't. What I usually do is I look at the numbers for the past years, kind of like try to rank people out myself. Then I look at a couple other rankings, and then my separator is the team around them. So like I'm really high on Michael Gallup, because the Cowboys throw so much, and Dak Prescott's a good quarterback.
Yeah, and like
and
Amari, he's not always the healthiest. He does get injured a little, not a lot, but he does get injured enough. So even if you draft CD, Gallup's still gonna eat.
And they lost Witten, and they lost Cobb. Witten and Cobb left. Randall Cobb. And so like I historically draft a lot of Andy Reid running backs because they do well.
Are you
not last year?
Are you big on Clyde?
I am not sold on him yet.
I don't think he's a second or third rounder. I really don't.
I don't think he was I think there was a lot more talented guys, but he landed in such a good situation because Robinson, their running back this year, had a decent season, and he's garbage. He's trash. He couldn't even make a team. He bounced around like crazy. So like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they can take talented players to the next level.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I do. I have my analysts that I really like, and then I do some research on my own, and then I separate it based on like strength of schedule and the style of offense they're in. So like obviously if the 49ers ever were to pick a clear-cut number 1 running back, I'd take them in a heartbeat because they run the football so much. And Shanahan has produced great running backs as an offensive coordinator. I mean, Freeman was absolute stud when Shanahan was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I'm high on Slayton, because Jason Garrett is their offensive coordinator now, and he's had lots of wide receiver ones in his history. Des Bryant, Mari Cooper, Michael Gallup was real good. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we got him over here as our offensive coordinator. I think that the Giants' passing attack gets a little better.
Yeah. How do you figure in the new coaching staff with the players?
So I look at,
it's their first year.
I look at if they've been a head coach before. So like I'm kind of avoiding every
rookie head coach,
everybody on Carolina besides Christian McCaffrey, because none of their coaches have coached in the NFL as a coordinator or head coach. They all came from college.
Right.
So like I want to see a year or 2 of what they're going to do. Christian McCaffrey's so talented that I'll take him, but like I'm a little nervous because like Joe Brady was an offensive coordinator in college, and their head coach, whose name is escaping me right now, was a head coach in college.
He was at Baylor last, I think.
Yeah.
And then Temple before that. I can't remember his name though.
And Real, right?
I can't.
But so for that purpose, like what I do is I try to see if they've been a head coach in the NFL before. But obviously it's hard. It's hard. Matt Rule.
Matt Rule. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's hard it's always hard.
Yeah, I know like when Shanahan left the Falcons, because he was the OC for them, right? And then went to the Niners.
Yep.
So when he left and then they got the new one, he had experience. I still wasn't super high on. I forget his name, but he was the OC.
They fired him last year, didn't they?
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. Even though like Matt Ryan's like he's a veteran, obviously, and he's good, he's talented. I always like get super nervous when there's a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, they speak different languages, so you have to like get together, and that time there's not a lot of time in training camps anymore.
Especially this year. So there's a question. All right, so are you avoiding rookies this year because of COVID?
I'm not avoiding, but I'm more selective now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like really find the ones that have that opportunity. So especially for running backs, that pretty much every running back that was drafted went to a committee.
Yeah. Besides CAH there, Clyde.
Yeah. And I'm actually kind of higher on Keyshawn Vaughn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Tampa.
Just because Tampa's had, was it Barber?
Yeah, Peyton last year, Barber.
And he's had him the year before, and they're just not utilized. He's just, I don't know. I thought he was good. I still think he's good, but for whatever reason, they're not like using him. So I think with Brady there, he knows how to use running backs, especially like multiple ones, because they had James White and like all these people. So I think if anyone can at least separate in the later rounds, it's going to be like Keyshawn Vaughn.
That's
like, where you could get him in like the 10th round and be like, oh yeah, he's a 10th round pick, whatever.
You heard it here, Keyshawn Vaughn, good sleeper.
We'll see.
Kind of. Okay, so are you more so like I wrote this article for redraft because I feel like that's where rookie, new people should start.
Yeah.
Are you higher on redraft or dynasty?
I really do like redraft, but I haven't found that right dynasty league either. I've tried a couple of them, and just I think the key thing with fantasy in general is you got to have the right people.
Yeah.
Now you don't need people who are like, oh, trade. Like it doesn't have to be like that. But you can tell when you get in a group if it's going to be fun or not.
Oh yeah.
So I want to get more into dynasty, but I just haven't been in a good group yet. So that's why I'm in one redraft right now that I'm like constantly in. And, we get together, we have barbecue, like it's fun.
So you do a live draft?
Yeah. Do you do live drafts?
So last year I did a live draft. It was really fun. The one league that got a little pricey that I dropped out of always had a live draft.
It's so much fun.
Live draft is so the way to go if you can do it.
And like, so the way we do it is because it's a redraft keeper league.
Yep.
So you have to keep one person from the first to third round. So if you pick them up in the second round, you would keep them in the second round for the next year if you wanted. And then 4th to 16, I think. So then wherever you took them, they get reverted to the 8th round.
Mm-hmm.
But the best thing is, like, to me, when he is like walking up there and slapping that name on the board, especially when they're not expecting it. Like sometimes I'll just do like 2 quarterbacks back to back, just to do it sometimes.
I have a league that we're switching this year. It was always a keeper and you lost your first round, but now we're doing value-based keeper.
Okay.
So wherever you drafted him. So if you keep the same keeper you had the year before, you lose your first round pick. But So like that's like got me like I'm like wondering like what I should do because I've got Nick Chubbs, I've got Josh Jacobs, Tyreek Hill, and Lamar Jackson. So like I got some like I Tyreek was my keeper. I took Chubbs in the first round, but I took Lamar Jackson in the fourth and Josh Jacobs because he's a rookie in like the sixth. And I'm like, do I keep Josh Jacobs because I only have to give up a 6th-round pick for him?
I would keep Lamar.
I know Lamar's a great one too.
Because
Only have to give
what
up a
round would you get
4th.
him?
I got him
Fourth?
in the 4th.
Like, because he's going in like the second to third.
Yeah,
And
but
Jacobs
Josh,
is probably going to go in the second or third too.
yeah, most people got him at like that 10 to 12 range at running back. So
Yeah, he could slide into the first.
yeah, on
Yeah.
tail end. Chubbs, I can't keep Chubbs as much as I'd love to. I just don't see myself keeping Chubbs or Hill because I don't want to give up that 1st-round pick for either of them, even though they are
It's
first-round
tough to keep a
picks.
first rounder.
Yeah,
Like it's especially like so I like Chubb, but it did seem like his production fell off a little towards the end when Kareem started playing more. No,
and Kareem's super talented.
he is, and you don't know, especially with the shortened preseason and the new coaching staff, we don't know who they're going to lean towards because it's what Stefanski obviously comes from the Vikings and they like to run. So that's why like I don't want to take one of them in like the first, maybe even second round, just because you don't know which one they're going to go. That if I was going to take one, I would probably lean towards Nick Chubb. In the third round, I would take him though. I would not waste a 2nd-round pick on him.
He's not going to be there in the third though.
No,
I don't think so.
No, and like that's what like I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, the one I've been hanging on to, just clinging onto, is Michael Thomas. I got him in the 2nd round, his 2nd season, and
never let him go.
I will never let him go. And I mean, because he's top 5 probably.
Last year he just ran away. He was so head and shoulders. It was funny because last year like there was three guys that I feel like just were head and shoulders above everyone at their position. CMC, Lamar Jackson, and Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
They were like, if you had one of those, you were in the playoffs. The rest of your team could be garbage. They were carrying you to the playoffs.
Yeah, I drafted Dalvin Cook last year. I didn't want to, but I did.
He
and
was
it paid
good.
off.
Yeah.
Except for the Super Bowl when I was in it. It screwed me.
And we're going to see what happens here.
I had Chris Godwin too last year. Like my team was stacked last year and I ended up losing because Godwin, Dalvin Cook was injured. I had Madison as the handcuff. He got injured. I'm like, these injuries they just kill you sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yes, they do. So I guess like back on that, like who's a big bust that you've kind of drafted, or like a big like injury maybe that happened on a guy you were real high on?
So for me, I like using Spark. It's kind of, I don't know, do you know about it?
Yeah, I read up on it a little bit.
Okay, so it's kind of like the athletic ability, really.
Yeah.
That's, so anything above like a 115 is like elite athlete. And I was super high on Bishop Sankey from Washington. Like I watched a lot of his games and he looked so good. And then you had the combine to back that up.
Yep.
And then he had, like everything else. And then he gets to the Titans. I was like, okay, let's run him. Let's go. And I forget what round I took him in, but I was like, yo, he's going to crush everyone. Screw you. I don't care. He's doing it. And then Jeff Fisher's like, I don't like his footwork. Then why did you draft him? Why would you waste a draft pick if you're not going to play him? And he was like a 2nd-round pick, 2nd or 3rd round. And I was crushed. And then he like tore his ACL like 2 years later, and he just hasn't been really in the league. But yeah, I was super high on Bishop. What about you?
There's a lot of people I remember that were high on Bishop. So one of the biggest like similar things to that, he's still in the league. He's still okay. Like I took Sammy Watkins like second or third round when he was a rookie as my
Fair.
wide receiver
That's
one.
fair. Yeah.
He just destroyed college. And then he
Yes.
just was so bad on the Bills. And then he went to Kansas City and he's been all right. And then Kelvin Benjamin had that really good rookie season and I fell in love with him.
Yeah. How can he not? He's so big, so talented.
But the worst pick I've ever had, hands down, was I took Le'Veon Bell as the first overall guy the year he sat out.
Oh, that's so brutal. And
And
you're
we
just
do-
like, please just give me 5 weeks. Give me 5 weeks at the end. That's all I want.
Well, it wouldn't have mattered. I was so far out of it. We did snake
yeah.
draft.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I didn't get to pick again. It's a 12-man league, so I didn't get to pick again. They'll pick 24.
Right.
So, I had, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, if
and
you
then
don't
I
hit
think-
with that first pick, it
Yeah.
completely ruins your draft.
I think that my first 3 picks were Le'Veon Bell, Stephon Diggs, and who didn't do bad. And then I think I went and got a backup. It was 18. So maybe I got who would have been I can't remember. I got another running back, but I just remember Le'Veon Bell didn't play. I ended up taking Stephon Diggs about 2 rounds too early. And the other guy did okay, but it didn't matter at that point.
Yeah,
I
at
was
that
just
point, yeah. If your workhorse doesn't produce, then you're just
it doesn't get you a
done.
point. Your first
Yeah.
overall pick doesn't get you a point.
Yeah, not one. Oh. So speaking of that, is there any insiders you follow on the guys that you're gonna draft or you're thinking about drafting?
I insiders for teams, not too much. I do follow Giants Wire, which
That
is
makes
pretty
sense, yeah.
good. And then Ian Rappaport and Schefter get
Chef?
they're really on top of spitting out possible trades, guys who are
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
injured. So they it's good to follow them because 9 times out of 10, if they're telling someone's not going to play and the team saying their game time decision, they're not going to play. So it's good to know they seem to know a little bit more about the truth about the injuries where the teams sometimes downplay it.
Right.
And I don't even know if it's intentional or if it's optimism in their own head. They've just sitting there I think he's going to be back in 3 weeks.
He'll probably play. He's not gonna just sit out the whole year.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the doctor's he's not going to be back. His doctor's telling you
He doesn't have a leg anymore. It's gone. He's not playing.
yeah, Cleveland. I mean, not Cleveland. Cincinnati with AJ Green. The coach kept saying he's going to come back. The doctor's no, he's not. He can't walk.
He can't.
He's a tough dude. He's
No, he's
doesn't
pretty
matter
tough.
how tough he is.
Yeah, he literally cannot walk right now. Yeah. No, I mean that makes sense. And so I follow, because I'm a Niners fan, I follow Matt Maiocco.
Yeah.
But because I follow that, I like to follow the inside reporters on teams that have a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Patriots, the Niners, because I think they give you those little details of oh, okay, it looks like Raheem Mostert started to kind of jump ahead. So I was all right, so I scooped him up real quick off the waivers, and it worked out really well for me. So that's why I follow them when there's I don't know who's gonna be the lead back or the wide. I want to know who that wide receiver 2 is because he can move into wide receiver 1 territory because everyone's focused on 1. So let me pick up Chris Godwin. And so that's why I'll jump to those conclusions,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you for sure. I'm kind of out of the questions we talked about. Was there anything you really wanted to hit with me?